Life Stories Live.
Walked out in the East Berlin and it started raining and a gray sky. And there was the sunshine on the other side. So it was strange. But, and it was, so we were, at least we had a taste see the difference, and we had a taste of the Western world. But coming to America, and of course landing in JFK, and I don't know, it was. I think, well, our brains kind of have a special fuse that kind of help us not to just explode. So
You had
it's
you had
sort
been
of a
programmed, of course, about these American capitalists. So how did you open up to all of this when you got there?
Well, I don't think I was just in the shock, and all I had is had a relationship with the people, and of course Dave met me there
Hmm.
in the airport, and from there, but it was just for a moment, for a couple of days. Later on, we went to Wisconsin after that.
Hmm.
Then because we had to just before the school started, we had to work out a few things, and then we drove from there to
Hmm.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. So Tulsa, Oklahoma is a little rural country in America, but most shocking thing was like walking in the church and see everybody having their own Bible. That
Yeah,
was that was a shock.
with freedom. And you were in America at the time, of course, when the wall came down. How did you feel when it actually happened?
Well, that's the thing. Well, of course, we heard just the one side of the story because we called back home. We couldn't get through because phone lines were just for some reason were not connecting. So we couldn't get a hold of the people on the other side. And all we've seen pretty much the TV, the CNN, or
Hmm.
what was showing on the American TV, which usually just biased kind of a thing, and with a lot more drama. And we see
Hmm.
tanks on the streets of Moscow, and so we felt like, well, that's looks like it's a civil war, or I mean, something really bad going on. So, and we prayed, we tried to arrange the just a humanitarian aid or something like that. And that's really when we studied just for a year, and we decided to go back. And the only thing that held us back, that there was no tickets. I mean, they were not selling the tickets. I don't think they were actually arranging for the flights there. There was only one Russian Airlines back then, is Aeroflot.
Yeah,
That's
the flight,
all
yeah.
that existed. And it was, I think they were flying from New York just once a week or twice a week. And I know there were Delta flying and stuff like that, but because of the sketchy situation in Russia at that time, I don't think American Airlines were flying there. So
Okay.
that's why we couldn't get there. And then later on, when the communication resumed, and it seems like everything just normalized, and we heard that basically that's the old regime fell. So we thought, hey, this
Party
is
time.
exactly this is the answer from God. So we in '92 when we graduated, we went back, and
So you went back to a new Russia.
yeah.
What was that like when you went back? Was it more open, and how long did it take for things to really, open up?
Well, after returning from America, and actually, and our daughter, she was 4 at the time,
Hmm.
and she was 2 when we came to the States, and she spoke just a few basic words in Russian, just like 2-year-old kid, just straight to the point. Mine, mom, dad, just some very, very basic thing. Then in a couple of months, seriously, in a couple of months, she all of a sudden she just spoke like any other American kid.
Wow.
And at times we were shocked because we couldn't understand what she's saying. But she was always with the kids, and and so when we came back to Russia, it was kind of an interesting for her in the beginning, but during the second week of our being there, she said, "When are we going to go home?" I said, oops. Okay, and we said, Dasha, this is home. And of course, we moved from the beautiful student housing apartment into our communal flat with it was with no shower. It was just no hot water. So
Wow.
it was a challenge, and the only thing that could pacify our daughter is that we'd taken a tram. There's just cable car, and it was rattling and shaking and making all kinds of noises, and she thought it's like the Disney World ride. And we were going to eat some Russian donuts. She really
Russian
liked.
donuts.
So that's what helped us to.
Tell us a little bit about how you met your wife and how she became a Christian.
Well, she was my fiance at the time when it all. I studied with her brother in the same school, restoration school, and she's originally, and her brother, they're originally from Belarus. So she came when she was 16 to St. Petersburg, and she was also artistically inclined, and she was drawing and painting. So apprentice of the gilder. Gilders are elite in because you can't really study it in the school. They don't teach that skill. You have to become an apprentice of somebody. So that's what actually happened to her. So and that's when I studied with her brother, and I knew her because she's his little sister. And at that time, she was my fiance. We were dating, and she was the first person that I led to the Lord. And it was
Wow.
that same evening when it all happened, when meeting Dave and he led me to the Lord. I said, I ran to her house, actually to her brother's apartment. She was staying there. And I said, I got to tell you what happened. And I told her all that story, and she said, I wanted to. So
Hi.
that's what I did. So
Fantastic. Was that on October the 9th or afterwards?
yes, it was October 9th, late at night.
So on October the 9th, so did you feel elated? Did you hear any bells or see any angels when you actually accepted Jesus as your Savior? How did that feel for you?
I think the biggest thing to me is really, it's not just coincidence. I mean, it's a God conspiracy. And that's obviously, I mean, only God could. What would be the odds bumping at the same person in a city of 5 million people in a different parts of town with hours intervals between each meeting? I mean, yeah, I mean, somebody would say coincidence and stuff like that, but again, to me, it was more. I mean, it was obviously it was a word. I understood that that because I was really, there was a silent prayer in my heart. I really wanted to know the story behind all of these paintings. And then I realized that that's an answer from God,
Wow.
because that's not just coincidence.
Amen. So you went back to the New Russia anyway, all Bibled up, all taught up, and you went to preach the word, of course. So obviously the Russia opened up then, of course, to Christianity openly when the wall fell, and lots of big evangelists went across. So what's the state of the Christian church in Russia at the moment?
Well, that's a very good question, because I'm leading the association, and I've seen through the period of time. Here's the thing: there's traveling in a different regions in Russia, and flying from, like, for example, to the Far East, and you're flying like for 10 hours,
Wow.
still within the perimeters of the same country, and you have a lot of time to think and pray and have these questions to the Lord. Lord, obviously you trust so much to us and given us such a huge territory, but how in the world are we're gonna do that? Because it's really, I mean, it's a lot of undeveloped and very, very isolated regions and stuff like that. And of course, it's so diverse. And yeah, the cities, there is a concentration of churches and stuff like that. But I mean, how we will go about the Great Commission in our lifetime. And I was reading these 4 books that Nehemiah, Zechariah, Haggai, and Ezra. Those 4 books, like 2 prophetic, 2 historical, about the Babylonian exile. And Lord kind of showed it to me that that's basically a handbook for us, because we were in our version of Babylonian exile for 70 years, just like Israelites. They were coming back. They were coming back to rebuild the altar of the Lord according to the Moses. When they went the first wave, then the second wave, then Nehemiah came and rebuilt the city walls. And basically, and there's these 3 words God showed me. That's all you have to do. You have to return to the place in God, to the starting point, the ground zero, really, for your nation. Rebuilt the altar, rebuilt the meeting place with God, just and really, and set yourself in the trajectory to restore your calling as a nation. And every time, we heard a lot about prophecies about revival in Russia and all of these things. And we truly believe that we still yet to have to step into the calling as a nation. And of course, we can focus only in our lifetime, in our present time. We have to fulfill the calling of the Lord in our lifetime. And that's the thing. So we have to mobilize the church. We have to rebuild it. Here's an interesting thing. God gave a vision to my wife, and she was healed of cancer in 2014. We battled for an entire year, and that's a miracle, really. And Lord spared her. she is with us, and she prayed for a year about what she should do, because obviously he's still not done with her. She's still around. And she always been doing a lot in prayer. And so Lord told her, I want you to place the statues of angel in the places where you've been praying a lot. And of course, there's lots of places we prayed and we thought, statues of angels, it's kind of strange. And then, of course, we knew the sculptors, and we thought, how we do that. And obviously, this kind of a project you can't do without working with administration. Of course, the place, the first thing, the place popped up. It's in Karelia. It's Sartavala, the city of Sartavala. It's a northern tip of Ladoga Lake, close to Finnish border. So, and we ministered there a lot. There were a lot of, a lot of camps we were doing, and we worked with the administration there in Svartavala. So we approached the mayor, and she came actually to Svartavala, and she talked to the mayor and said, well, we wanted to place the statue of Angel here. And he said, yes, we need it. And then they start walking around the town and finding the place. So they located the place on the hill that overlooking, it's called Vakasalmi Park. It's called Ukhovori, the mountain that overlooking the entire city. And when they realized, so that's where the angel will be standing, and the angel will be facing east. Then immediately the rest of the picture came into the place. So the second angel will have to be on the far east, facing west. It's kind of our version of rebuilding the altar, except that it's like the Ark of the Covenant. You remember when the cherubims were just overshadowing. And that's where really the glory of the Lord, the Shekinah glory, dwelled. And we realized we have to do that. And of course, and the first angel we placed already, the second angel, we were done with it. We wanted to put it in the Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, but then pandemic hit and on and on and on. So it's still pending. So we believe we're going to set it there. But these angels, it's kind of they triggered certain processes.
LifeStories Live. Life Stories.
And God gave us a vision. We'd go through all 11 time zones. It's just a prayer journey through each region, gather church together. And we did some in the last summer. So basically, it's just trying to hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Mm-hmm. Meet with pastors, meet with leaders in the region, interview them, ask them questions, and really make an assessment, really, what the state of the church in Russia right now. Because that's a lot of talk for answering that question. As saying, it's kind of like a lofty way of saying, I have no clue. But I'm about to find out, because we're going to do that journey, and we're going to meet with people, and we're going to pray with them. And it's not would be in a glamorous setting of the conference, but rather like good old friends sitting in the kitchen past midnight and heart-to-heart talk. And that's we intend to do the part of that journey during this summer too.
Excellent. Now, Dmitry, it's been fantastic. I mean, of course, you're a member of the Association of Christian Evangelical Churches, and it tells us here that you've grown to 400 churches and ministries. Is that correct?
A little more than that.
Wow.
We're still, but here's the thing. We're not in the stats. Here's the thing. In 1995, that's when we prayed with my friend and partner Igor Nicky, and God spoke clearly. He wanted us to register with the government, a centralized religious organization.
Right.
And we were kind of skeptical about it. We never been We never needed any legal thing because back then you could do anything. Seriously, there was no really limitations. We did a lot of ministry. We gathered pastors. We planted churches. So we could pretty much do anything. And then we were always very relational. We worked with the people regardless if they're part of. Relationship pretty much defined the field of our work and cooperation. So and all of a sudden, this kind of a thing, just register the centralized organization. So we started the process. And at that time, it was so complicated because the laws were very vague also. And it was a ping pong. We were bouncing back and forth for the entire year, 95. And we are in St. Petersburg, and it's all in Moscow, supposed to be, because it's a centralized organization. So the Ministry of Justice department there, and finally we got it registered. Wow. So, and we didn't quite understand why. And then in 97 came an understanding because the changes in legislature occurred, and every independent church was required to be a part of centralized organization. So God knew this thing is coming up, so he prepared us for it. So in 97, we already had the structure, but the structure was never the priority. It was relationship. Gotcha. And even to that point, yes, we have members of the association, and there are different types of members. Somebody just need the legal covering and said, gotcha, don't bother me. The others are really involved, but we have some friends who we work with really closely, and they're not a part of our association. But the relationship defined that. If there is a relationship, then the work would be done. So that's how it works.
It's been fantastic speaking to you. Thank you for giving us an insight into life in Russia and the church in Russia, and your own life, of course. But I always ask the speakers on here one particular question, and that question is, of all the decisions you have made in your life, what is the best decision you have ever made?
Well, of course. I wouldn't even say that. Follow the Lord was of course, it was the greatest decision. It was so obvious and so easy. He made it so easy for me because it seems like it would be stupid not to do that. And of course, asking my wife, my fiance, to marry me.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Well, Dmitry, it's really been lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for telling us about yourself and your wife and your family and all the things that God has done for you as well. And with that, I'll just hand back to Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Dmitry.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful listening to you tonight. Been really interesting to hear how God has worked in your life and how he put things together. He is an amazing God, and he will go to the ends of the earth for one person. I made a promise to God once, Lord, I'll go to the ends of the earth for one soul. And he took me from the UK to North Pole, Alaska, and one person gave their life to the Lord. And he said, do you remember that promise? I said, yes, Lord. And that's it. He is concerned about people. He loves every person, and he wants them to know him. So thank you so much, Dmitry. It's been so interesting hearing all about your life and about the life in Russia. Thank you so much. And yeah, I know what it's like to fly across those 10 time zones. I've done that, to go to a place called Blagoveshchensk. I don't know if you know that place. You know that place, Blagoveshchensk, yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. May God bless you in your work, and may you see revival come in Russia. So thank you again, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Please, if you have any questions and needs, contact us on our hotline, +44 794 355 0287. Also, go to our website, LifeStoriesWorldwide.com, and there I say you'll find lots of help, lots of information. You can watch the stories from past Monday evenings. We've had lots of wonderful testimonies from the past Mondays over the last 2 years. You can watch those. And let me invite you to join us next week, next Monday at 8 o'clock for another life story. Again, a very interesting story. Next Monday, we have Kiran Polbaraka. Now, Kiran was the son of a Hindu priest. His father was a Hindu priest. He was blind when he was 13 years old, and they blamed the serpent god for blinding him. So he became a priest for the serpent god. He planned to commit suicide, tried to commit suicide, but Jesus came and visited him. He became a Christian, a wonderful Christian, him and his wife. But Kiran hated Christianity. He hated his parents becoming Christians. And there came a time when he himself also tried to commit suicide on a railway track. But God intervened. You'll hear an amazing story next week from Kiran Polbaraka. Please tell your friends to join us on Zoom, on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you all again. Thank you, Dmitry. Thank you, George. Thank you, Howard. And thank you all for being with us. May God bless you. May you know that wonderful peace, that wonderful joy that only He can give. Good night, everybody. God bless you.
LifeStories Live.